Okay. زحمتنا بكينا online. You have to have a mic. Okay. Okay, رسمي كله سرينا. Who is abusing my laptop? Okay, abusing it. Delete it. Okay, so now, just now we said if I have a graph that represents my position, I mean position versus time, would I be able to plot V versus T? Yes. How? You have a relationship between V and S, right? V and S. So you differentiate S with respect to T. That means V is equated to ds over dt. You take the you differentiate S with T, okay? Mahdi, don't scratch on my screen, okay? Then, so once you differentiate, so if you have an equation, طبعا I'm a plot equation here, I get differentiative, okay? When t is equal to 0, you're gonna get v sub naught, which is this value. You're gonna get this value, right? So when v, if you want to get v1, so you just use the same thing, the same differentiation. You don't change it. If the same equation, you use the same equation, and you plug in t1. يعني لجاتي t0 أبيت t1. Chana t1, 1 second, 2, 3, then you're gonna get v1. Once you're gonna get v1, you plot v1. The same way you plot v3, v4, up to v4. It depends on the journey. How it depends on how long you want to. I mean, for what? How many seconds you want to plot velocity? Okay, for how many seconds you want to plot the velocity. So now we've plotted the velocity for t naught, t sub 1, t sub 2, t sub 3, up to here. Okay, how did we calculate the values for v naught, v2, v1, v2, v3? We've made use of the differentiated s with respect to t. You differentiated s with respect, because ds over dt is equal to velocity. كيف معناها لو؟
مامستا.
بله.
أستاذ ببورة بس برادر كامل بيجي مامستا من وين نادري؟
كيا نازم كيا؟
أنا أحمد.
أي كوانية ويوري بقول.
والله نظام بيت مامستا من وين نادري؟
أخنية لا هم شلون وري بقول غيرها بيتنا وكي بيت بوي invite يبكم بوي accept يبكم نية. هو تعال وشكل. Now يشيها هانا
أحمد.
نية ناي هانا هي هانا هي هانا هي okay. So okay, so now we can plot. If you have the graph, then you just need to know the slope of the graph. If you have the graph, then if you have the slope of the graph, then okay, you can get what you call the value for v0, v1, v2, v3. يعني أجا slope كتبه slope يعني ds over dt. يعني أجا slope كيابه slope أجا slope calculate slope إيش slope بابلين slope أجا line كتبه أوها slope كتشيا أما slope بابلين أما over أما. يعني أما بلين 1 و 2 فسلوبك أبيته 1 over 2. So this would mean this is the value for V. At what V naught when time is equal to T naught بابلين سلوبك Y. If the slope changes Y دي هات سلوبك دغوريا يعني value كي دغوريا 1 yeah. So you have a new slope. So each time you have to determine the slope, okay? Okay, the concept is clear. يعني concept here. Velocity is equal to the slope of that graph. The slope of that graph. If you have the equation, you can get the differentiation of s with respect to time. Do you have any question? هيك برسياركي لسر أما؟ هر أم علاقية هيك ديكانية. طبعا ميتينغ كمان دقيقة ديكا هنا أبيا طاع أبيا. We continue, so you join back to the class. You join back, okay? Join back. Do you have any question? or we move ahead? We go on.
مامۆستا
Yes, who is this? بله.
مامۆستا لە ڕسمەکەی سەرەوە
بس ناوی خود بڵە پێشەوەی قسە بکەیت.
شاژین
اوكي شاژین بەڵێ.
مامۆستا لە ڕسمەی سەرەوە کاڵی dv by dt
ds by dt کوانی dv by dt.
ds by dt
بەڵێ.
ئەدی مامۆستا ئەو تیە چییە کە لە تەنیشتی ئەنووسرێتن مەبەست لەو تیە چیە دیسان لە تەنیشتی ئەنووسرێ بەس لە یاساکەی خوارێن نییە لە
ئەو تیە یعنی ئێستا کە تۆ ئەکوێژنێکت هەیە s یەکسانە بە t. s یەکسانە بە t سکوێر.
بەڵێ
باش ئێستا با بینووسین s یەکسانە بە t سکوێر. t سکوێر. باش ds by dt یەکسانە بە چی؟ یەکسانە بە چی لێ t سکوێر چی لێ؟
ئێکە دووتی
دووتی. باش ئەو تیە ڤالیوی هەیە لە کاتێ t not یعنی کاتێ بدایەت کە سفرە با بڵێن time is zero کە zero ئەخەیتە ناو ئەو تیە چی لێ؟ ds by dt سفر وانە ds by dt یەکسانە بە v یعنی velocitym لەو حاڵەتە ئەبێتە سفر وایە؟ باش ئەگەر t1 یعنی کاتێ 1 second کە 1 دائنم 1 second با بڵێن 1 یان دا 10 second اوكي 10 ئەخەیتە ئێرە 10 times 2 is 20 یعنی v1 ئەبێتە 20 یعنی لە سفرەوە ئەچێتە 20 با بڵێن ئەوە 20 اینجا ڕسمیەکەی ئەوە ڕەبتەکەی اینجا v3 v2 v3 v4 هەر یەکێ تایمی خۆی هەیە و ڤیەکان لە یەک تایم نییە یەکێ لە تایمی بدایەتە اینجا دوای یعنی time versus velocity versus time. So time starts from 0 and it goes up to babylon da second motion akad. Ebo da second t1 t2 t3 ta agata t9 chuka t0 la t0 or this okay agata t9. So you plot the graph, okay? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if no questions, we move on. We move on to the second part in which we have to know the definition of A. A is the differentiation of velocity with respect to time. So if you have now this, this plot of this graph for V versus T, okay, and you want to plot A, Can you plot it? Yeah, the same way. You get the differentiation of V with respect to t, you're going to get the slope of the graph for each time. For time when time is equal to 0, when time is equal to 1 second or 2, when time is equal to 3 seconds or 10 seconds or 15, depends on the time intervals, okay? Time intervals. Yani time akan khoy chon drao, yani time پرسیارەکە داوات لێکات تایمی کاتێ 1 سکندە 10 سکندە 5 6 7 15 20 30 100 okay that's how we plug in. So each we can determine the acceleration for each time. How can we determine the acceleration for each time? We get the differentiation of the velocity for each time. Okay, the differentiation. So if you have a single equation, again, yak equation there, I'm graph it. Yak equation, yak jar differentiation, okay, dv by dt, function of t, and jar you plug in t naught, t1, t2, t3. Again, t naught صفر بو صفر دعني بزام أو equation اتشيا يعني يكسانا بتشي t square, t cube, t اتشيا. Okay, then you're gonna get the acceleration after the differentiation. Yani once you differentiate, then you're gonna get the a. Yani aga equation كمان to understand. Babylon v يكسانا babylon عمل خمانة t square زائد t. Okay, babylon عمل equation كمان. Okay, وتي كان t لا هنا ودس فيك لا صفر يا Balain do 6 second tachwa. So can we plot can we plot the acceleration for t when t is equal to 0 and when t is equal to 1 and when t is equal to 2 or 3 or 4? Yes. How? We differentiate dv by dt. We get the differentiation of dv by dt. dv by dt. Okay? So what is dv by dt for this equation? KPM Allah. What is dv by dt for this equation?
2t plus 1. 2t plus 1.
Who is this?
Goran.
Goran. Yes. So now dv by dt is equal to, yeah, is equal to what?
2t
2t
plus 1.
plus 1. Okay? So now, once you plug in 0, you're going to get acceleration is equal to 1t. 1. Okay. Once t is equal to 1, the acceleration is equal to
3.
3. So and so on. You could keep on plugging the time, and then you get the acceleration versus that time. So once you get the acceleration, the full acceleration from 0 to up to like 4 seconds, then you can plot this graph. واضحة? Okay. Okay. So those أوشتانا ما نخن وانيا يعني بيشتر خندو معنا بس now how we plot it, how we graphically represent it. Okay, how we can graphically represent what just now I showed to you. Okay, if we move on, Hitch, do you have any question up to now? Do you have any question up to now? If no question, move on. So now, we've talked, if we have S versus T, then you need to plot, or you're asked to plot V versus T, then you get the differentiation of S versus T. But if you have V versus T and you want to get A versus T, then you get the differentiation of V versus T to get the acceleration based on the definition. But how about if you were given like A versus T, if you were given like A versus T, and the question is asking you to determine V versus T. So now what you're going to do, instead of differentiating, because now you are going backward, okay, backward, like you differentiate V with respect to get A. But if you have A and you want to get V, what are you going to do? Do you differentiate or you get the integration? Which one?
Integration.
Yeah, exactly. So now we move backward. Now we move backward from A to V and from V to S. Last time was from S to V and V to A. If from S to V, you differentiate. From V to S, you differentiate. But if you have from A to V, it's like you, from the bottom to the top, okay? It's like you can plot it this way. You say, if I have S versus time, if I have S versus time, and I want the velocity versus time, what I need to get the differentiation of this relationship, which is ds over dt. ds over dt, because this is the definition of velocity, right? This is the definition of velocity. And if I want to move, sorry, I cannot go downward. So this is V versus T, and this is A versus T. So if I want to have A versus T, I need to differentiate V versus, I need to differentiate V with respect to T. So what I need to do is dV by dt. This is in case if you are giving velocity versus time, you can get A by differentiating velocity versus time, or velocity with respect to time. But if you were giving like the position, then you can differentiate the position with respect to time to get Vt. But how about if you were giving At instead of St? You were giving At instead of At, it means the acceleration versus time. And now I need to get Vt. So I don't differentiate. In this case, I do
Integrate.
exactly. I do take the integral of At. So I do take the integral of At to get Vt. If I want to draw the St, I also do the integral